plenty of founders talk to me like, oh, well, recruiting's been solved by AI. And I'm like, no, it hasn't. It hasn't. Now, there's a future state where I think there could be a lot more enhancement that AI can help on the recruiting front for both the employer and the candidates, right? Not to be ghosted, right? But we're not there yet.
Welcome to the Growth Experts Podcast. I'm your host, Derek Collin. Today, we have a great episode with Gwenevere. She is the founder and CEO of Guide to HR. How you doing, Gwenevere?
I'm doing great, Derek. Thanks for having me on the call.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for joining us on the Growth Experts Podcast. So, can you share a bit about your role and how it fits into the bigger picture over at Guide to HR?
Yeah, sure. So I built Guide to HR over 4 years ago, and the goal is to get in front of founders, startups, CEOs, and even small businesses and nonprofits to help them make good business decisions around people operations that will help them grow, not just now, but in the future. And so a lot of times I see that like founders will say, oh, I finally need a HR person, or I need an executive HR person, and it's always after. It's always way too late, and they expect the person to come in and build something from scratch while actually executing what needs to happen today. And so it really puts the individual, it puts the business, it puts everything behind the tracking of where you want to grow your business. And so that's why I created Guide to HR, to help get into the conversations earlier and the mindsets of founders so that they can start making decisions earlier in their business growth while they're still focusing on product and services and obviously finding clients and customers. There is sometimes a thought that, you make those decisions and then they have ramifications down the road when you actually execute on hiring people and bringing them into the org. So that was the premise of why I built it. I love building, I love creating the foundation of HR for businesses. And so that's what I do, is help any business that I can. And I also recognize that startups, small size, and nonprofits, every penny counts. They don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars to throw at a problem. So I decided, well, it doesn't make sense for someone to pay an executive level person to write a handbook or to data entry new hires into the system. So I actually have generalists and managers that work with me and help the cost of working with Guide to HR so that founders can bring in expertise, but also have a fractional cost of executing that expertise.
Awesome. And what are some of the, I would say, challenges or obstacles that some of your clients face, and why they have a need for Guide to HR?
Oh my gosh, it's a plethora of different things. I mean, HR is such a huge umbrella of multiple things under it. So I've had a range from, hey, I have an employee relations issue, I don't know how to handle it, come in, take care of it, and maybe be their, advisor or HR expert when another crisis comes into play, to helping a company. I have a nonprofit who had an HR person, and I was like, but you're like 20 people. Why do you have a full-time HR person? That salary could be going towards what you're doing as a nonprofit. Let's fix that and save you money. And so we ended up pulling out that person and putting in a PEO that basically did 80% of the work. And then we stayed on as advisories to help them with white glove services, strategy, when they did have an employee relations where they needed to have like an actual in-person or research and investigate the situation. So it's been a really great experience for them because they're paying a lot less for a PEO and our services than a full-time person. Now, normally, it's usually the other way around. Normally, I'm coming in, I'm like, okay, it's time for you to get off the PEO. You're too many employees. It's cheaper to have support full-time or as fractional and bring in your own system and do everything in-house. So usually it's like, that's usually what I end up doing. But in the nonprofit situation, it made sense for the business financially to flip it. I come in for project-based. So I've had a client where we came in and helped them with their performance management tool and built that all out for them, implemented it, trained, helped the employees and managers get set up, and even worked with the HR team and executives so they understood the reporting and what things were happening inside of the tool. We come in and we be the HR team, right? So I had a CEO who, when I was talking to him initially, he's like, yeah, I think we're about 70 people. And then we started, they were almost at 90.
Mm.
So, not to have the information about your people from a strategy, from an analytical perspective, you're making decisions on your business without proper data, you're going to make mistakes and you're going to have issues that are going to haunt you. So,
Yeah.
let's get information, let's get analytics in place so that we can make proper strategic decisions.
Yeah, definitely. And when you get implementation in place for strategic decisions, can you talk to us about the AI that you have for implementing and helping the HR with the AI workflow and the agent delivery? Can you tell us?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it's a combination. I'm really flexible. What is the business using? I think the key that I have come to find out is less is more, right? There is so much AI out there. You could literally spend your whole entire, IT budget and financial budget on all the tools out there. So let's step
Yeah.
back for a minute and talk about what is it that we currently have in house? What are the tools that we currently have in house? Do we even have AI functionality that we are using or not? And why not if we're not? And then what is the business need? Where are we going as the business? And how can an AI tool help us? So there are enterprise level tools that are great for businesses. And then there are specific tools that are designed specifically for departments, like engineering tools. Well, a finance team's not going to use those. And the finance team is going to use tools that the engineering team's not going to use, right? So you're going to have to look to see what is the right approach holistically and then by department. And so for HR, a lot of the HR platforms out there are starting to have AI become part of what you're already paying for, or maybe a little uptake, right? So,
Mhm.
figuring that out, and then what is it that we really ultimately need for the business? Are we a good example is I came into an organization and the CEO's like, we have an HR at email account, and people have been telling me that they send an email there and then they don't hear back for days, weeks, never, ever. It's a black hole. Help me figure out what's going on and let's get an SLA agreement in place. So we use Front. They have an analytical tool, they have some AI functionality that helps with that. And then through that process, we were able to see what was going on and start to track the improvement over time pretty quick actually once we kind of really focused on it and got the SLA down to 4 hours, business hours, right? And so, and the noise that the CEO was experiencing on the employees coming to him and saying, "I'm not getting help from HR," immediately dissipated. And that is a lot. Like that noise, it is time consuming. It's energy draining. It's a focus distractor from what the CEO founder needs to be doing, which is interacting with the customers and investors. So anything that we can do to help eliminate the noise, the burden off of the CEO so they can focus on the right things. That's our goal.
That's
Another,
awesome.
yeah, and another example for agents. So this is something I'm working with. Recap AI and Workato are both tools that I like to use. And when it comes to agents, really kind of looking at, and this is kind of like, ooh, this is really high level, right? So the first place is how are you using AI? If you're not, let's do some easy stuff, right? Like emails and notifications and your messaging and your job descriptions and all the writing things that you do. Okay, if you're not using AI for that, do that, right? That's like kind of baby step. And then we start doing baby steps of like, okay, how can AI help you with the analytics? You have all this data. HR has a plethora of data. And a lot of times it's sitting in multiple systems. So, how can you pull that down, scrub it, analyze it, and be able to tell a story without taking all your time? And so that's where AI can really come in and help with that. Of course, you want to make sure that whatever AI tool you have is secured and that they're not learning from you because your business information should not be publicly available, especially if you are publicly traded, right? So there are compliance and security things that you need to be putting in place. And then from there, the next step is looking into things like an agent. And right now, the one I'm really excited about is a coaching agent. And what I mean by that is, hey, an employee wants to have a conversation with their manager about something and they don't really know how to go about it. This coaching agent could help them with practicing, with setting up kind of like the right approach, right? Or, like I want to learn about XYZ. How do I ask my manager what I could work on to help me get that experience, that skill set? On the manager side, what really gets me excited is that we as managers have a lot on our plate. And, you have a conversation with someone, if you have a review, if it's annual, semi annual, quarterly, whatever your performance review frequency is. It's kind of like one and done, check it off, and then move on to the things that you have on your plate. And you have a
Yeah.
conversation like, hey, Derek, I know you really want to grow in your role. And so let's work on your presentation skills and let's get that going. Right. And then 3 months down the road, through our one-on-ones and our interactions, we've never talked about it. It never came back up, or it wasn't a focus. So on the coaching front, it actually can follow in the one-on-ones and in the email communications and whatever other tools you have that you want to connect to this agent. It'll be like, hey, Gwenevere, you have a one-on-one with Derek tomorrow.
Mhm.
You haven't talked about presentation skills or getting him in front of a group and having him present. Let's bring that back up and help him with that skill set. And then
Yeah.
it can also help the manager, like, hey, you have this one-on-one, your tone was a little off, or, hey, you kind of showed up in not a great way, or here's something that you can improve to help your relationship with the person, or the momentum, or getting them to, produce bigger, faster, whatever it might be, right? So there's also training on the coach as well. And then
That's good.
yeah, and then it's like, oh, okay, so like, I have a problem with Derek. I need to help. Like, he's not really performing, and I'm like, here's the things that are the facts, right? The kind of like the PIP, but performance improvement plan kind of situation,
Yeah.
but pre-HR. Here's the areas in which I need to help him become better. Help me communicate this. How should I do it? And then what I'm really excited about both Recap and Ricardo is that they're creating it where you can have a conversation with AI, like a role playing conversation.
Yeah.
And it just creates, I think, a bit more of a bigger space for people to do role playing. Role playing is so important, but
Mhm.
I also fall in this. I hate it. I push it all the time, but personally, I hate it, right? Because it's hard to create that space that it's okay that you're not 100% correct on what you just said. That's why you're role playing, right? Is to practice and to hear how you're saying things, hear how you're presenting yourself, right? And get feedback on how to improve. But it's hard, especially as you grow into manager and above layers
Yeah.
where you're expected to be the leader and be perfect, right? Obviously,
Yeah.
everyone knows no one can be perfect, but there's still some expectation there. So creating that space to have that interaction and role play to help you without it really being a live human, I think is going to be transformative.
Yeah, definitely. I think that you're bridging the gap between not only within HR, but the hiring manager and the employee so that there's more better synergy and it creates a longer, tenure for that candidate or employee. So there's not that 90-day cycle where they're like, I hate my job, this is it, and they leave, right? Or they get
Right.
fired because it's on both sides, really. They need to work together. And I like how that AI agent coaching can help assist the employee and enrich their lives and their and means of communicating with either HR or their hiring manager, and then it helps the hiring manager too improve on his skill sets to do a better job for the employees.
Yeah.
So that seems to be a big there's a huge need for that in the market because I think hiring managers or people that do the one-on-one, they need help as well, because I think they're failing. I honestly do.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Management is broken, and I would say the root cause is that I shouldn't say never. It is a rare thing to come across a person who is a manager who's gotten official proper management training.
Yeah.
Not an MBA, right? Not training on the job, but actual like training. And so many of us get put into management jobs because we are the top producing, knowledgeable subject matter expertise in the individual contributor role. But an individual contributor role is so different from a manager role. Now, if you're in a role where you're still doing some individual contribute, and then you do management, I think it's even tougher, right? Because you have these requirements to individually produce while managing people. So I think it's one of those things where a lot of companies, they just don't have the right setup to convert someone to a manager and give them the skills and tools and knowledge to be a good manager. So that's, I think, really where it comes down to communication. I see ultimately the root cause of a lot of issues, employment related issues, is communication.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
I had a CEO who came to me and said, "Hey, I don't trust my managers." And I'm like, "Okay, well, that's big. Okay, let's talk about that. What's going on? What's happening?" And through communication and interaction and really kind of like pushing the managers to show up differently and pushing the CEO to be involved a bit differently, we started rebuilding that trust to a point where we were actually able to, unfortunately, we had to do a layoff. It was a small one, but we had to do one. And
Mhm.
originally the CEO was like, "I don't want to tell anyone, just do the individuals and then we'll tell the whole org afterwards." I'm like, "That's a mistake. We need to get the managers involved. We need to let them know what's going on because ultimately they're the ones that are going to deal with the fallout, right? When an employee gets laid off, the rest of the team is going to go to the manager of the employee, not HR and CEO."
Yeah.
But and when I first worked with him, he would never have let that happen because he didn't have that trust. But because we were able to build the trust before we unfortunately had to do that, he was like, "Okay, I'm still a little nervous, but I'm going to go with your recommendation." And I have to say, I mean, obviously layoffs are not fun.
Yeah.
Never want to do them if we can avoid it, right? But it was the best experience of a layoff I've ever had in my professional career.
Awesome.
And I would
Well,
say that for the employees, for the managers, for the employees who were impacted, the employees that were left behind. It was just a really everyone knew it was happening. The managers knew what the communication was and how to respond to people when they had questions. And there was like no wave of lack of production or people just like totally like left like what's happening and start looking for jobs. Like it was kind of like back to work and everyone processed it and we didn't have any hiccups in production or anything. So that's what I meant by it's the best experience I've had.
awesome. Yeah, I want to talk about shifting gears here in terms of fractional. I know that we discussed previously your way of bringing in your fractional AR services to different types of firms and companies. Let's talk about that. How do you implement that in terms of on a fractional level? And is it do you just go in and you know you do a good job and then you're done and then you move on? And how does that work?
Yeah, so fractional really is actually more of I come in and I'm there for quite some time. Depending on where the business growth is, right? A lot what I like to say is I want you to hire me so you can fire me. And what I mean by that is I want you to hire me so I can come in and really get your HR and your people operations foundation just so solid. You know what's going on. You're making proper strategic decisions around data that is solid, and you're able to grow your business. Because of that, the growth requires more people. Well, more people eventually will require a full-time person. So I would love to see come in, help support the business grow to a point where they bring on a full person and like, whatever, we don't need fractional anymore. We've hired our full-time person. Awesome. Like that to me is like, I've done my job. I've supported the CEO founder and the other executives to do their job to grow this business. So that's what gets me excited. A lot of times what ends up happening is that again, they're still small enough where they'll hire maybe a manager or director level HR and they'll keep me on as an advisory as the executive, right? So more strategy advisory and also mentorship to the HR person that they've hired. Because what I've seen a lot of founders do is they hire a manager, director level person. They call it head of. I hate that title, by the way. But because it means so many different things, right? But they call it a head of, and then they expect this person to act like a chief HR officer. This person doesn't have that experience. They don't have that knowledge. They don't have that skill set. It doesn't mean they can't. It just means that the ramp up time for that individual is going to be so significant that the CEO is going to think that this person can't do their job and then fire them. And I've seen this cycle over and over again because the CEO founder has an improper expectation because they called it head of that this person's going to be a VP chief level individual. And that's where I try to bridge that gap and help give the CEO that knowledge and experience that they need when they need it. But the person who's executing things at the manager director level is their full-time person.
Hmm, awesome. So what major shifts are you currently seeing in your industry right now?
Definitely return to work, to return to office for sure. I'm seeing a lot of that happening, more than just hybrid. A lot of companies are starting to kind of go back to that 5-day in person. I think there's a lot of challenges there. One is that employees are feeling like they're losing a benefit that really enhances their livelihood and lifestyle. A lot of people have moved away from major city hubs, right, for life balance of cost. And so I think what it comes down to is really talking about what is the goal of coming in person? What are you hoping to get out of it versus what you might lose from the talent market side of the house? And so there's pros and cons to both. And I think that's still a conversation being had. And I think that people are still pushing back. They're not going to move back to these cities. They're going to stay. And that means you could lose those people, or you will lose those people if you force the hands. And so it's just a matter of what does that look like? And, are those key employees? Are they people that you feel, unfortunately, we're all replaceable no matter what, but, is that someone that you feel like you can replace? I had one founder who he wanted to close. He had 3 offices in the US. He wanted to close one. And I said, okay, are you ready for the financial impact of it? And he goes, well, what do you mean? I said, if you close this one, this office location has all of your operations, your finance, your HR, your legal, your IT, all of the back office roles are in that location. And that location is 3 to 5 times cheaper than your other 2 locations you have. Are you financially ready to take on? And I did a quick little analysis, like, almost a napkin analysis. I can do a deeper dive, more to the penny, but here's a quick napkin analysis. And between all those roles, we were talking about a $1.5 million increase to payroll.
Mm.
Is that really worth closing this office? And are you able to pay for that? Is the ROI there? And if not, then let's talk about what are your concerns about that office location that you want to close. And if that's really what you want to do, then you also need to prepare for that's just a salary cost. All those people, now you got to find replacements. You got to get them ramped up. And there's going to be a lot of churn and noise in the business that's going to cause employees to start thinking differently about the organization unless you communicate right. And so, there's just a lot of nuances that, CEO comes walking. I spoke to other CEOs in my CEO roundtable, and this is what we're going to do. And I'm like, this is the right thing for your business. That might be good for those 10 people, but is that right for your business? So, yeah, talking to CEOs off the ledge a lot is stuff I do.
Well, that's good. You got that consultancy background and able to help assist them in saving more money and moving forward efficiently is always a good thing for their bottom line. So, how has that trend, if you will, or that impact, is it impacting your business or growth strategy, or is it something that's adapted for you?
I think it's adaptive because of what I offer and who I'm targeting. I think there's definitely there was a lot more opportunity for fractional work, after code happened, and I think with the whole return to office, that is definitely starting to slow down, especially on the HR front. Maybe not so much on other roles, but I think it's the start, right? You always hear like. I'll pick on California because the taxes and everything that's happening and what the government's doing, but they're talking about a mileage tax on top of their gas tax. Like, oh, well, we're just doing this to just see what's happening and to analyze things, and everyone knows, like, okay, but that's going to lead up to you actually executing. I'm going to have to start paying taxes here. So let's not play around. That's not dance around the reality of it. And so I think ultimately, I feel the same way. HR is the first to be required in-house, more so, and I think other roles will start to follow.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's working well for you right now? And like what's been frustrating? Any challenges?
So what's working well? I think, redesigning my business. I came out like let's see, quarter 4 of last year. I rebranded my business a bit, added an AI component, so AI coaching and helping companies with implementation and really trying to find the right tech stack. So my last employer job I had in house, I actually took over infrastructure. And one of the things I'm seeing, I guess another trend actually is I see there's basically 2 sides of AI for corporate. It's either let's bury our head in the sands and we're just going to keep going and we're not really going to deal with this AI thing, which I think is starting to dissipate a little bit, but I still see that. And that might be almost like frozen in fear of what AI could do for people and their jobs. And then the second one is CEO gets on an all hands call, town hall, or full company wide call, and says, you have to adopt AI or get off the boat. Like, leave the company. We don't want you here if you're not adopting AI. And then signs off. And everyone's like, well, what does that mean? What should I be using? Do you have tools that you're going to give me, or do I need to go out and get them? And are you going to reimburse me if I get them? Are you looking for me to just improve my writing skills? Or am I supposed to be using this to write the code? So I think,
Most people, I think, well, a lot of people, not to cut you off, but they think AI is like this god or this pie in the sky or a unicorn, but they forget that AI, the letter A, is the word artificial, which means not real, not real intelligence. So it's us. We're the intelligent beings behind the AI, if you will, that's doing the coding, building the software as a service, and making sure it's implemented correctly. And I just wanted to add that because a lot of people, when they see AI or my AI company and stuff like that, they think it's a unicorn.
Yeah. I mean, I've had plenty of founders talk to me like, oh, well, recruiting's been solved by AI. And I'm like, no, it hasn't. It hasn't. There's a future state where I think there could be a lot more enhancement that AI can help on the recruiting front for both the employer and the candidates, right? Not to be ghosted, right? But we're not there yet. And yet I talk to founders and CEOs who think, oh, yeah, it's already been solved. Who expect time to fill to go from your 45 average to 15 days. And they expect to be able to, you're going to find that, top 1% candidate that would be willing to come to this company for the price we're willing to pay. It's like, no, AI doesn't, it's not like that.
People forget that human beings, we're unpredictable. We may go this way, we may go that way. You never know, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We're unpredictable beings. There's a huge shift in the market, and if you're relying on AI and saying the problem's solved, it's never solved. I mean, yeah, you have Tesla trucks, we have autonomous driving, and it may keep you safe, but you still have to adjust. There's still upgrades, and it's really just coding. It's all automation, and it's humans really. We're AI is taking my job. No, it's a human that built the AI.
Right. And I would say, like, I hear this all the time, and I fully agree with this. AI is not taking your job. The human sitting next to you that knows how to use AI to benefit their product faster, higher quality is the person who's going to take your job. Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so, I mean, obviously, there are some automation robots out there that are taking some manufacturing and other types of roles. But generally speaking, it's if you don't know how to use AI, that's what is going to end up ultimately impacting your job capability. Yeah.
Exactly. So, what metrics are you most focused on improving? Business development? Is there,
Well, for me, for my own company.
yeah, for your company,
Yeah.
clients,
Yeah.
whatever helps you as a whole?
Yeah. I think for me, it's really, I'm working on improving how I spend my time and making sure that time being spent is moving the needle. So you ever heard of the 80/20 rule, right?
Yeah.
80% of the work you do takes 20% of the time kind of concept. But from a revenue business perspective, 80% of your revenue typically comes from 20% of what you're doing, what you're spending your time on. So what is that 20% you should be spending your time on? And this is where I'm really focusing my time and attention. And I keep asking myself, I look every day at my calendar, I look at the day and week and even the following week. What's on my calendar? And are those meetings going to move the needle? And if not, I'm canceling them. And I'm getting back that time. What am I working on? Am I spending too much time in my email? Okay, what's going on with that? Why am I letting myself get sucked into that? How can I reduce that? Virtual assistants are a great way, right? There's also AI tools. I use one that helps. It's called Forge, and it helps kind of basically eliminate a lot of the noise. So when I wake up in the morning, I don't have 100 emails I need to read through. I have maybe 10, 15 that are the important ones. And then if time permits, I might go in and see all the noise and see if there's anything there that might be interesting to share out in my network or whatnot. And then, yeah, lead business development for sure. Yeah, I'm really trying to work on my business this year and not so much in it. And what that means is I'm really leaning on my generalists and my managers to do the majority of the work with the clients. Of course, me supporting strategically for the clients and supporting my contractors, my employees when they get stuck on something, but really spending my time building the business on it. And that is definitely a lead generation. It's conversion rates. It's getting clients and retaining them. Do you know that it takes 4 times more cost to get a new client than to retain a client?
Mm. Yeah, in terms of like customer acquisition costs or client side acquisition costs. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So where do you see Guide to HR in 6-12 months from now down the road? Are you expanding?
Yeah, I mean, I would love that. Yeah, my goal, I don't know if it's really 6 months. That's kind of short term. I think for me, in 1 to 2 years, I like to see me kind of find that sweet spot of business development where I can be more consistent on knowing what is going to come through, knowing my pipeline numbers. If I get, X amount of leads, this is going to convert, this is going to turn into a client, then I can actually hire full-time employees. And that's really the ultimate end goal. And grow the business that way. So it's really, but I got to dial in that business development side, right? It can't just be referral based. A lot of HR consulting firms rely on referral based, which is great, but it's not consistent and it's not really manageable from a timeline.
Yeah, and that can, stagnate some firms where they're just always relying year over year on those referrals, which can be great and they can generate really good income from it. But no offense, I just think it makes them lazy.
Well, I gotta consider that's a lifestyle business, right? It's a business that's gonna help pay that person's bills and let them live a lifestyle that they like. I really want this to be a business, right? A real company that we're growing and flourishing, and we're helping as many founders and nonprofits and small businesses that we can.
Awesome. Well, last question before we end the podcast. You mentioned that, your goal for the business 1 to 2 years, 6 months is too short, but from 1 to 2 years from now, you want to expand, your operations and business development as a whole. If you had a magic wand to fix just one thing that's holding you back, slowing you down, what would that one thing be?
I think it would definitely be lead generation, getting in front of more people, and not just more, but the right people, right? Like lots of founders out there, lots of business owners out there may not be ready for me. So how do I get in front of the ones that are? And how do I also then, through pipelining, keep the ones that are not ready warm? Basically, 1 to 3% of people are ready to buy at the time that you reach out. 1 to 3%, right? That's not a lot. So it's really like it's getting those leads and then really keeping them warm, educating them. I think for me, that's where I have the area of improvement because I'm an HR person. I'm not sales marketing. So
Yeah.
I'm learning. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. I reach out to a lot of founders and CEOs like yourself, and I have spoken to some CEOs in HR, and they have those similar traits in terms of not being able to really do the sales, if you will, and stuff like that. So that's always important in terms of business development. So yeah,
Yeah.
but it seems like you're doing great. Thank you so much. Yeah.
It's not always
Yeah,
perfect. And sometimes, you end your week and you're like, what did I work on? Like, well, how, like, I'll just be really transparent and vulnerable here. For me, like, I'm working on rebuilding my business, right? And starting it a little bit somewhat from scratch. So there's a lot of feeling like I didn't accomplish anything this week. But a really good friend of mine, she was like, that's the wrong mentality. You're building. And it just, you got to build the momentum and you got to build things. And then eventually you start seeing things happen. And so that's where I'm at right now. I'm trying to give myself that grace space.
Yeah,
To do that.
I would say speed is king, right? Especially with business. You're gonna strike when the iron is hot, and right,
Take
that
action
in this
now. That's my logo for the year. Take action now.
take
Or
action now.
fall fast. Was it fall forward fast? Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing is ever perfect. if that was the case, then we wouldn't have had Chat GPT 2 years ago, right? We got it. And that was 1.0. Now we're at what, 5.0? And so
Right.
you like just recognizing that like nothing goes out perfectly and there's always room for improvement, even if you think it is perfect, and to just not wait, but go now. Yeah.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Gwenevere, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining us on the Growth Experts podcast. For those who want to check out Gwenevere, her name is in the title below, and you can actually check out her website in the description below, which I'll make sure that it's listed. It is guide2hr.com. Thank you, Gwenevere, for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. And one little freebie on the website, there is a free 2-minute AI assessment tool that can help you find out where your business is at in regards to implementing AI. And it provides up to 15 next steps in 5 different areas of where you can improve your AI usage, no matter how far you are or where if you're just beginning. So check it out, totally free.
There it is. Thank you.